Today's agenda for discussion is to learn trading and settlement process in the stock market. First, we shall see what trading is, and then we shall move to understanding of various post-trade activities. We know already that stock exchange provides investors or traders with screen-based anonymous trading facilities. In other words, those who want to trade in the stock market can register their buy or sell orders through a broker on the stock exchange. After this, stock exchange with the help of algorithm-based programs matches these orders that are made by various investors. All matched orders are then sent to clearinghouses for settlement, while as all unmatched orders are either cancelled by the parties that lodge them or else by the stock exchange itself at the end of the trading on a given day. So that's what a stock exchange does in the stock or capital market. On your screen, you can see inside view of some of the major stock exchanges that exist today. On clockwise basis, these are Bombay Stock Exchange of India, Karachi Stock Exchange of Pakistan, New York Stock Exchange of America, and Shanghai Stock Exchange of China. From these images, can you observe some similarity among these stock exchanges? Of course, there's a lot of similarity among them. And what is that? These images show us clearly that stock exchanges are now no more having pits that they had in past for people to trade physically following open outcry based system. The present day stock exchanges are fully automated and electronic. All trades that happen there now are conducted over computers using sophisticated softwares and internet technology. Now, stock exchanges do not require any brokers and traders to be physically present in the stock exchange premises. Gone are those days when only those people who were closer to a stock exchange location could trade. Nowadays, anyone can trade provided there is online accessibility to the stock exchange. Now we try to understand how a stock exchange system carries out order matching. As a first, there has to be buyers and sellers in the market who are interested to trade, right? The modern day stock exchange allows buyers and sellers in the market to register their orders electronically. Therefore, a stock exchange receives a very huge number of such orders every second of time. After this, the stock exchange system uses price time priority protocol to match various orders. The price time priority protocol means that the computer systems of the exchange match same price orders with a first come first serve priority. In simple, if the bid price and the bid quantity of the buyer is same as the offer price and the offer quantity of the seller, then the order is matched and it becomes a trade. While we learn stock exchange order matching, it's interesting to know that all this order matching is done anonymously. That is, the identities of the buyer and the seller are not revealed to them. So this is how order matching works on the stock exchange. Now, to be able to trade on the stock exchange, we need to have three relationships or accounts. That's, we should have a bank account, a demat account, and a trading account. Now let us see what each of these accounts is meant for. To trade, we should have a bank account to facilitate flow of money, because we would need to pay in case we buy, and we would be entitled to receive money when we sell. Since all transactions are cashless here, how can one get or pay money? Obviously, a bank account is needed with the facility of either online transfer of money or a checkbook facility. Then we should have a demat account. This will serve the purpose of holding our securities in the dematerialized form. By having this account, we can hold securities in the scriptless or electronic form so that we can have fast and hassle-free settlement of securities when we trade in them. Right? This is just like as we keep our money in a bank account. We have two options, either to pay or receive money in physical form or else pay or receive it through our bank account. Think of the convenience that one can have by making online money transaction as against making a transaction in the physical cash. A bank transfer of money is very fast and reliable and less costly against doing transaction in physical cash mode. Similarly, the convenience, speed, and efficiency is achieved when we hold securities in the electronic form with a depository and do transactions online instead of dealing in securities in the physical form. In India, we have two depositories, that are NSDL or National Securities Depository Limited and CSDL or Central Securities Depository Limited. Like a stock exchange, these depositories have their agents that are called depository participants or DPs. It is from these DPs or depository participants that we can have access to the services of these two depositories. Then we need to have a brokerage account. A brokerage account can be opened with a broker. This account will enable us to do trades on the stock exchange with the help of a broker. So trading account maintains the summary of our transactions in securities that we would have done through a broker on the stock exchange. Next, we would like to know when we can trade on the stock exchange. As is obvious from what you can read on your screen, trading cannot be done all the days of the week. For Saturdays and Sundays, and also on public holidays, stock exchanges are closed for trading. Therefore, no trading is possible on such off days. Then we look at timings for trading on a day when stock exchange is open. As can be found on the screen, the two major stock exchanges in India, that's Bombay Stock Exchange and National Stock Exchange, function from 9 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. and allow people to trade during this time. Now is the time to learn some trade related terminology. You can see various trade related acronyms listed on this screen. Let's find out what do they mean. For example, an active order is the order which has been placed and is waiting for a match. When an active order finds a match immediately, it gets converted into a trade. So that's what is a trade, right? But what about those orders that do not find any match? Such orders are known as passive orders. Then we have market lot, and the market lot is the minimum order size in terms of number of shares that can be placed in case of certain stocks on the stock exchange. Finally, tick size is the minimum increment permitted in rates for any particular script. The tick size is fixed at 5 paisa. This means that if there are two orders with two different prices, then the price difference should be at least 5 paisa between them. Therefore, tick size is the minimum change in price that a stock exchange witnesses between two orders. In other words, tick size is the minimum price change between different bid and offer prices of an asset that is traded on a stock exchange, right? For example, if you place a simultaneous buy and sell order on the exchange, minimum price difference that should be between the two orders is paisa 5. Now we know the important vocabulary that's used in case of the stock market trade. Now let's talk about the methods that can be used to place orders on the stock exchange. Here we have different types of placing orders that can be used by the people in the market. For example, market order is an order to buy or sell a certain quantity of a scrip at the best prevailing market price. For this reason, the market order can easily find a match because many people are willing to trade at the market price. Then we have limit order. The limit order is such an order that may be placed on the stock exchange to buy or sell a certain quantity of a scrip at a specified price. The limit order doesn't match until a corresponding order of the same price is not made by some other party, right? Then we have stop loss orders. These orders are released into the markets when a script's price is unreasonably increasing or decreasing. Before price could reach unacceptable levels, the trigger price is set off, right? At this stage, the order can be reversed by using the stop loss order mechanism on the trading system, right? The stop loss orders are used particularly when volatility is high in the market. For example, we may buy a stock and place a stop loss order 10% below our purchase price. Should the stock price drop to 10%, the stop loss order would activate automatically and the stock would be sold as a market order. Now let's understand how can we trade through brokers on the stock exchange. We can do trading on the stock exchange either offline, that's by instructing the broker on telephone followed by written instruction, or else we can do trading by getting online access to the trading terminal from the broker. The online mode obviously gives us more flexibility and convenience over the offline mode of trading. So we have two types of brokers to choose from, the offline brokers and the discount brokers, right? Now let's see how are they different. This is just like shopping in a mall or shopping online. Shopping online is obviously less costly and we can get things on cheaper prices than shopping offline in a physical market. This is because in case of online shopping, there are a few intermediaries involved. That's what reduces the cost and prices get cheaper. The same philosophy applies to the online trading as well. The main difference between a discount broker and an offline broker is how they charge for our trades. The discount broker charge a flat rate. The discount brokers charge a flat rate. Let's say 20 rupees per order. This model would obviously suit small traders. Contrast to this, offline traders charge a percentage fee. Let's say 0.02%. Therefore, when our trading volume increases, their brokerage income would also go up. So just by using a discount broker, we may be able to save a huge cost, particularly when we trade with high amounts. Let's get now familiar with different styles of trading in the stock market. Mainly there are two methods, intraday trading and position trading. Let's see what they mean and what are the consequences they have for those people that enter into such trades, right? To understand intraday trading, think of some gold merchant in your locality that deals in both buying as well as selling of gold. Let's assume on some day you request that gold merchant on phone to buy 10 grams of 24 karat gold for you. Later on the same day, you call this gold merchant again, but this time you request for selling of 10 grams of 24 karat gold. You did these two transactions because soon after buying gold, you realize that you do not need this gold quantity now, right? So to get rid of liability of taking delivery of gold from the gold merchant, you made a similar opposite sale transaction, right? This is how you reverse the liability you had towards gold merchant due to buying of gold. Now just imagine if you had done these buy and sell transactions with some other motive. And what would that motive have been? Right? Probably you felt that if you buy gold in morning, later in the day price of gold would move up and by selling it you would make a gain, and that is why you did these two transactions. By analogy, same combination of buy and sell transactions can be done on the stock exchange. This is what is known as intraday trading, right? It is intraday trading because essentially by combining buy and sell transactions, a trader may be netting his outstanding with the stock exchange. Now, what does that mean? It means matching a buy trade with a sell trade so that effectively you owe nothing to the stock exchange at the end of the day. This type of intraday transaction, this type of intraday trade in which we first buy and then sell may be good when prices are moving up. Contrary to this, when we can contrary to this, we can begin with a sell trade and later on net it with a buy trade, and that may be feasible when prices are falling. Right? So that's what intraday trading is all about. Now come to the position trading. A position trade is either a buy or a sell trade only. Unlike intraday trade, it doesn't combine two trades for netting. So under position trade, we may have a liability towards the stock exchange at the end of the trading, right? How would that liability arise? When we buy, it leads to payment of money liability, and when we sell, it would lead to delivery of the asset or the security sold to the stock exchange. So that was about styles of trading in the stock exchange. Let's now get familiar with another tempting concept, and that is short selling. What is that? Let's see. When we buy a stock, we expect the prices to go up, and on the other hand, when we sell or short a stock, we expect the prices to go down. So, shorting a stock is the inverse of buying a stock. When there is good news about some company, we expect its stock to go up. So, we buy the stock, but when there is some adverse or bad news about a company, that time our expectation would be that the price would come down. So, we prefer selling the stock of such company, right? But the question is that is short selling allowed in a market, because many stock exchanges do not encourage short selling. For example, in India, short selling is only allowed in derivative segment and not under the cash or equity segment. So literally, short selling is that transaction where we sell a stock even if we might not be having it or holding it in our account. Yet we are able to sell it through short sale, right? But how is that possible? This is possible because later to cover a short sale, we may be buying the same thing back again, right? Next, we see what are the trading rules. There are two ways through which stock exchange controls risks involved in trading, and they are margin system and intraday trading limits. First, we look at the margin. The margin is the amount that a stock exchange would ask us to deposit as a security before we are allowed to trade. The advantage of depositing margin for the trader is that he gets leverage from the market which he can use for trade. For example, with a 10% margin, stock exchange may extend us leverage of 90%. That means if we deposit 10,000 as margin, we could do a daily trade worth 1 lakh rupees. Therefore, we can buy and sell stocks up to an amount of 1 lakh rupees. That's what margin means. Besides margin, stock exchange also impose intraday trading limits to every trader, right? In the given case with 10% margin, a daily intraday trading limit of rupees 1 lakh is extended to us. By limiting our ability to trade, the stock exchange will have the discretion as to how much exposure we can have on a daily basis. So if we want to trade more, we need to deposit more margins. This is how trading limits are imposed by the stock exchange so that we do not trade recklessly. After going through various important aspects of stock market trading, let's go through now a quick understanding of the process of trading on the stock exchange, right? At first, an investor can place an order through a registered member of the stock exchange who could be a broker or a sub-broker, right? Alternatively, the order can be made by the investor himself by logging into broker facilitated trading interface, right? The broker or sub-broker then forwards the order through his computer terminal into the computer terminal of the stock exchange where the order gets finally placed. Then stock exchange system matches the same buy sell orders. When an order is not matched, it is displayed on the system either till a fresh order comes in or it is modified or cancelled, right? Soon after the order gets executed, a broker conveys its confirmation to his client, followed by delivery of contract note. Finally, the settlement takes place on T plus 1 or T plus 2 basis. That is the first day or the second day after the trade takes place. That was the procedure of doing trade on the stock exchange in brief. Now let's have a feel of how online trading is done. On the screen you can see snapshot of online interactive trading screen. Here the red and the blue colors are to indicate up and down changes in stock prices. For the next stock you can see some details like last traded price, total quantity brought and total quantity sold, current bid price and bid quantity, volume exercise given. This information is very useful while placing an order by a trader. Then in the bottom space you can see a panel which is used for placing of orders. This is another image of the usual trading screen. Now you can see many stocks with price and other information. A graph making option is also available there. So we do a lot of things apart from trading on broker provided online trading access. Now we look at the settlement cycle or settlement process. The stock market in India allows either of these two schemes, that's cash settlement and rolling settlement schemes. The cash settlement involves T plus 1 day settlement, which is applicable in case of intraday trading and short sale transactions. The rolling settlement is meant for position trades and involves T plus 2 days settlement cycle. T here stands for the transaction day. Having got to know about different types of settlements, let's now understand what is rolling settlement process. The T plus 2 rolling settlement process is deferred mode of settlement as it takes 3 days including trade or transaction day to complete the settlement. After a trade is done on the stock exchange, the buyer would want to receive the assets that it would have purchased and the seller would want to receive the cash consideration to the securities sold. Therefore, cash and securities have to undergo through change of hands. Obviously, that's something that the two parties, that's the buyer and the seller in a transaction, cannot do themselves, right? Therefore, this process of exchange of cash for securities or exchange of securities for cash is undertaken by another market intermediary that's called the clearing house, right? Now, let's grasp how clearing house does the job of settlement of trades done on the stock exchange, right? On T day or transaction day, stock exchange receives buy or sell orders by the counterparties. Then the stock exchange software then starts looking for orders that match in terms of price and size, right? The confirmation of these matched orders or trades and obligations is then sent to the participating brokers in the form of obligation files, right? The brokers then forward this information as contract notes to their clients that would have placed orders earlier with them, right? This happens on the first day of the transaction, that's on the T plus 1 day. Then on the second day, that's T plus 2 day, after the transaction, pay in of securities and funds followed by payout of securities and funds is initiated. Finally, these activities lead to movement of funds from the bank account of the buyer to the bank account of the seller, followed by transfer of securities from the demat account of the seller to the demat account of the buyer. So that's how settlement cycle under rolling settlement process is completed. In the entire process of clearing and settlement, we have different parties like brokers, depository, share transfer agent, banks, and clearing house that facilitate exchange of funds and securities between buyers and the sellers in the market. Out of all these, clearing house has a pivotal role in this entire process of clearing and settlement. A clearing house acts as a central counterparty, guaranteeing performance of parties in a trade. The major stock exchanges have their own subsidiaries that offer clearing and settlement services for them, right? For example, we have Indian Clearing Corporation Limited as the subsidiary of Bombay Stock Exchange and National Securities Clearing Corporation Limited as the subsidiary of National Stock Exchange. Similarly, Metropolitan Clearing Corporation Limited is the subsidiary of Metropolitan Stock Exchange. These clearing houses intervene for clearing and settlement of trades that are done on the stock exchanges that sponsor them. Now let's understand clearing and settlement process with the help of a diagram. On your screen there is a sketch showing process flow of clearing and settlement followed for trades that are made on the stock exchange. We shall go through this step-by-step process to understand fully how clearing and settlement process is done. At the beginning there are two parties, the buyer and the seller, who place their orders through their respective brokers on the stock exchange. If their orders are matched, that's if the bid price and bid quantity of the buyer is same as the offer price and offer quantity of the seller, then the order is matched and it becomes a trade. The flow of activity from placing of orders by the parties till it becomes a trade can be seen through step 1 to step 5. All this happens on the transaction day or first day when a trade is made. Then you can see through black dotted line that stock exchange also informs the participating brokers, and brokers intimate their respective clients with the contract note. The contract note is a document that shows details of trade and brokerage charges and taxes, etc. Then under step 6, stock exchange intimates the clearinghouse about details of the matched trades, and clearinghouse in turn informs brokers for initiating funds and securities debits from accounts of the buyer and the seller. This is done on day second of transaction or T plus 1 day, then finally on T plus 2 day or second day after transaction day. You can see in step 7 and step 8, debits of funds by the buyer's broker and debits of securities by the seller's broker as members of clearinghouse are initiated, and after this funds and securities get deposited in the pool account of the clearinghouse. This can be observed in step number 9. This step is called clearing. Then in the step 10, clearinghouse effects payout of funds and securities from its pool account. The funds are credited to the seller's bank account and securities are credited to the buyer's demat account. This step is called settlement. In this way, entire clearing and settlement process is completed. Now, there is a possibility that seller may fail to deliver the securities that were sold in the transaction. In that case, the stock exchange purchases the required securities in the auction market and delivers them to the buying member. In this case, the seller may get penalized by making it to pay a higher price for committing short delivery. Finally, we look at the benefits that electronic trading systems have brought in our lives. Well, electronic trading systems offer us many benefits. One of the important benefits that screen-based electronic trading systems offer us is that we are able to observe market on real-time basis, right? With this, we can be more quick and effective in making moves in the market. The stock exchange also does a crucial task, and that is it enables faster incorporation of price-sensitive information into prevailing prices, thereby helps in efficient price discovery. The straight-through processing adopted by the electronic stock exchanges has led to reduction of time, cost, risk and error, and fraud, and also has eliminated chain of brokers engaged earlier for doing trades. All these measures have brought down the overall transaction costs remarkably. Further, present-day stock exchanges, because of being automated, have also led to increase in number of participants, which has in turn increased the market depth and liquidity, as trades can be now done in an anonymous way. So that's all we have for today's discussion on trading and settlement process followed by the stock exchange.